Hi, and welcome to the Hardcore Skeptic podcast. This is going to be a supplemental podcast that I do hopefully once a week to make up for the fact that the Brainstorm podcast is only going to be once a month. It's just going to be little 15-minute rants for me, 20-minute rants once a week. So here it is. I hope you enjoy it. The Hardcore Skeptic podcast. I'm a passionate person. This manifests in all kinds of ways in my life. It makes me pull inside and be silent when I'm frustrated. It makes me scream at the top of my lungs when I'm pissed off, or it makes me cry when I love with love. Like when I was thinking of this in the car, it was much more poetic. But anyway, being passionate about, like, I'm just inherently a passionate person. I love with everything that I have. I fight until I can't. Like, I don't quit. And everything in my life shows this. It's exhausting, to be honest. But at the same time, it's been an asset in every way of my life. It's been an asset in it's the reason I started a podcast. It pushes me forward when I'm talking to people. People sense that I'm genuine when I'm discussing things with them, and I try not to come across as condescending. So quite often I say people like the passion that I have. A lot of times though, I'll say the wrong thing because I get ahead of myself, because my passion, my desire to make an impact gets ahead of where I am in my my knowledge base and my ability to communicate. So sometimes I have to be reined in. And I mean, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I can take that time and be thoughtful and really discuss things with people on a personal level that doesn't insult them. But sometimes I catch myself in the middle of an argument realizing that I'm being an asshole. And sometimes I'm okay with that. But a lot of times I feel like I don't want to be the asshole. It doesn't seem okay. Because of this, I have to do what is called compartmentalizing things. I have to separate certain aspects of my life and kind of box them away so that they don't impact the rest of my life. Like, that's not to say like that I don't think about them ever. But for example, this is the main example. My mother and my brother are both mentally ill. They've both been diagnosed at different times with schizophrenia. This, I imagine quite often people think that because of my passion and my ability, like, to sometimes see patterns where others might not see them, which is a big part of schizophrenia, that I too have a little bit of that mental illness. But I thus far have not been diagnosed, and I don't really think that I have delusions, so there's that. But as I was saying, like, so my mom, I believe, lives in British Columbia. I haven't spoken to her in approximately, I don't think I've actually spoken to her since my separation. But I don't think about it. When I do think about it, I wonder, well, am I okay without her? Would it be nice to have a relationship with my mom? She did a good portion of the raising of me. I lived with her for a lot of my teen years. And when I was 13, 14, I lived with her while my brother lived with my father. So it's one of these things where, I mean, yeah, she's a person that I had in my life and now I don't. And I'm sure it impacts me in some way, but I compartmentalize it. I box it and I set it aside because there's not much I can do about that. Like, she's over there. I'm not sure if she's on medication right now or if she's I don't know if she's okay necessarily. Like, I mean, my aunt sometimes talks to me about things, but it's pretty rare that I hear or see anything to do with them. So my brother too, I just was talking to my dad today. my brother last year, he had quit his medication, got kicked out of his apartment, started living with a buddy, started having delusions, and then on a bus and ran away. I mean, he's a grown man, so it's not running away, but he left. He left his working with my dad. He left his friends. He left his family behind. He went homeless in Eastern Canada, like in Hamilton, I guess, is where he started off. His way into Ottawa or something. I'm not sure exactly what the details are, but somewhere along the line, and then he came back just before Christmas, still not on medication. And people who listen to Brainstorm podcast might remember that I started a campaign to support mental health and to raise some funds for Mental Health Saskatchewan. And we were going to do a whole thing. I was going to have special guests on the podcast, and we were going to do like a whole special little interview thing and discuss the state of mental health in Saskatchewan and in Canada. And it's all part of that, right? It's all driven in part by my passion to do something that's right and my inability to do anything to actually help my brother. Because you can't in our country force somebody to go on medication. He's a grown man. You'd have to be able to show that he is of demonstrably potentially harmful to others or to himself. And I don't even know how you begin to do that. Like, besides the fact that he's living on the street, he's not actually hurting himself. So you can't really do that. You can't make somebody take their medication. There's no court order to get somebody institutionalized and take their medication. I know lots of people would disagree with even thinking that that's an okay thing to do, but I think a lot of those people have never had a mentally ill brother who turned from one person into another. It's hard to describe, but anyway. But I've got him compartmentalized, my life and my feelings about that compartmentalized and set aside, so that it can't hurt my life in any way. Like I think about it, but then I put it back in the box and I set it aside. It's actually a separate thing. I have two beautiful, brilliant, amazing children, and I can't let my lack of a relationship with my mother or my mentally ill brother harm my relationship with my children. And it's possible that in some way it does, even without me knowing it. But consciously, I have to keep that over there and still live a day-to-day normal life for my children, who I'm sure are impacted by the fact that their uncle, who was once here and enjoyed spending time with them, and even paid for us to go to the local fair one year, he is no longer around us. He's alive. We know he's okay, or we know he's alive, but it's so separate that nothing can be. We don't do anything. And even when he came back to Weyburn, my brother never contacted me. Part of him, I think, tends to know that when he's not on his medication, then he can't be around the kids, because he doesn't know what he's capable of doing, and quite frankly, I don't know what he's capable of doing. So why am I being so candid with my life right now here is because I just found out, like I said, like before Christmas, my brother came back to Weyburn, where we live, in the middle of Saskatchewan. Well, not the middle geographically, the middle of nowhere, metaphorically, I suppose. And so he came back to Weyburn and was here for a while. But now I talked to my dad this morning. Because my brother's birthday was yesterday. Yes, St. Patrick's Day. And I wanted to see how he was doing. I asked Dad, have you heard from Anthony lately? And he said that Anthony moved back to Ottawa. So now my brother's gone again. And it's fine. When he was here, I never talked to him. I didn't talk to him for the months that he was here. I never heard word one from him. But it's one of those things. Like I say, I'm a very passionate person. So these things, they do impact me. But because I have to compartmentalize it, I keep it over there. I keep it separate in its box. And then I go and I try to raise funds and raise awareness about mental health issues and raise Yeah. Sorry. I try to raise funds for mental health issues, or for mental health organizations, and try to raise awareness about mental health issues. And part of my quote-unquote activist type of mentality is exactly this. Like, I want to make a difference. So if I can convince somebody that supporting a local mental health organization is worthwhile, or if I can get somebody to help me contribute my funds to our local mental health organization, then that's all I can do. Like, that's what maybe somebody else doesn't have to deal with the things that I've had to deal with in my life, and they don't have to deal with somebody in their life going unmedicated. I like to downplay how much these things affect me, like in such a way that it almost, I kind of just ignore it. Like, that's just a part of life. People are not always going to be okay. And so unless I can stop it, I don't worry about it, I guess. So there's my rant about mental health that inspired by my discussion with my father this morning. Tell you the truth, I was planning on doing some recording today. As it turns out, this is going to probably be the very first episode of the Hardcore Skeptic podcast. I haven't recorded an intro. But I have in the past recorded separate episodes and discussed things, and then they sit on the shelf. I don't get around to doing anything with them. I thought about doing a YouTube channel, but then my apartment's a fucking mess, and you can't. I don't know how to change the background. Like, I'm just a total nub when it fucking comes to video editing. So, or noob? No, I think I'm more suitably called a nub. Anyway, so I was doing some research this morning about fibromyalgia, which is something that I know. I know some people who have it. I'm not done the work on it. Like, I haven't finished my research, obviously. But it's quite an interesting subject. But as I was doing that, I came across a couple things that stoked my interest. Where is number one of it? Okay, this is comic book related / social justice related. I'm going to take this article from the jackofalltradesclothing.com. They have a news section of their webpage, and it says hashtag save the cover versus hashtag change the cover. What is The Killing Joke, and why are we so upset about it? Well, I don't know if anybody knows what The Killing Joke is. Like, if you're a comic book fan, then you know that The Killing Joke is an old Batman comic written by Alan Moore and illustrated by Brian Boland. And it's about the Joker basically goes after Barbara Gordon and Jim Gordon's daughter, Commissioner Gordon, his daughter, goes after her, and, well, you're left with the he shoots her in the spine, and then you're not told what happens, right? But the Joker takes pictures of what he does to Barbara, and in the comic, it's enough to basically make Commissioner Gordon go crazy. So, I mean, you're not left with what you don't know for sure that she was raped, but you're left with a pretty good indication. Now, there's a new, there must be a new thing going on with The Killing Joke. Okay, so the cover of a variant cover of the forthcoming issue 41 of the fan favorite comic, is it Batgirl? Yeah, of Batgirl. It's an homage variant cover. It portrays the Joker with a clearly terrified Batgirl. Well, I guess you could say that it's graphic in what you take from it. Like, you can see that he's doing something bad or has done something horrible or she's terrified. And, I mean, he's the motherfucking Joker. Of course he's going to do something terrible, right? And there are some protests online got DC to pull the cover. Like, they're worried that it's misogynistic, and I don't know. I mean, Yes, but it speaks to the character of the Joker. If you know anything about comics, then you know that the Joker is a fucking bad guy. And he is a misogynist, actually. If anybody's ever paid attention to the way he treated Harley Quinn when she's desperately in love with him, and the dismissive tone he took with her and the abuse, and like, the Joker is a fucking bad guy. I mean, he killed one of the Robins by beating him to death with a crowbar. So yeah, he's a bad dude. And that's depicted in the cover. And art is supposed to get us talking about this stuff. Like, so to me, this is a moot point. This is about the art. The art, like, you don't get you don't get rid of attitudes about misogyny by friggin' censoring comic book cover art like this. Like, it's not sexualized in any way. Like, it doesn't make it look cool that he's fucking got her. He's the fucking Joker. Oh well. This is me thinking that it shouldn't have been changed. Like, I think that the cover should have been kept. And apparently, Kristen Johnson from Jack of All Trades Comics, jackofalltradesclothing.com, also seems to think that that censoring this comic book cover defeats the point. Nobody wants to promote misogyny. Well, I suppose some people do, but nobody with any sense wants to promote misogyny, and nobody with any sense wants to promote the girls in fridges meme. We don't want that to continue. We want strong female characters in comics. So there's that. That's a thing that caught my eye this morning while I was researching fibromyalgia and getting distracted rather easily. Okay, so I've got one more little story I want to talk about, and then I'll let everybody go. And then I'll let you go. There's been a news article going around. It's called Health Canada Licensing of Natural Remedies, a Joke, says doctor. Or doctor says. The CBC News, they did this thing where they made up a children's remedy. The Health Canada didn't require any tests, any evidence to support it. They photocopied a few pages out of a homeopathic encyclopedia, which, I mean, isn't really anything anyway, and sent it in, and they got approved to release their quote-unquote product, health remedy, onto the market. And this is pissing me off. Like, this is unbelievable that you can just sell whatever you want, and you don't even have to have any evidence to support it. I don't know. I'm sure we'll be talking about this next time we actually record, but this is just ridiculous. What do we got? Licensing products provides choices, they say. Health Canada has been regulating natural health products since 2004 under what is now called the Natural and Non-Prescription Health Products Directorate as a way to monitor the safety of products on the market. Except they didn't test it. The agency declined to be interviewed by Marketplace, and about how the agency approves for natural health products. By email, they responded that licensing these products is about giving consumers more choice. Yeah, well, the difference between a choice, like there's a choice between something that works and a choice and something that doesn't, or a choice between something that has never been tested and could potentially have harmful effects. And another part of this, they say somewhere in there that most natural remedies are considered low risk. Well, but you didn't test it. You didn't require evidence that it has no harmful effects. Like, what was there, like last year or the year before, there was some study done on homeopathic remedies, and they found like all these potentially harmful actual active ingredients in them. Like, it's not even what they say they're supposed to be. They're actually have ingredients that are harmful. These are, I mean, according to the guidelines or whatever, the rules of homeopathy, basically this shit should just be water anyway. But then they found that it's more than water. It's got bad shit in it. And it's just absolutely ridiculous that with no testing at all required, they approve whatever under the guise of natural health. Like, so, I mean, I'm glad the CBC did this. They demonstrated that There's no tests done under the guise of natural remedies. And so maybe something will change. Maybe if we get enough, I don't know. If we get enough noise about this now, then maybe something will change. But yeah, I hope we can talk about this in the next episode of Brainstorm. So that's it for me. Hopefully I can fit this in with my outro that I already recorded. Okay, so that's going to be it for this one. You get a rant about my passion, my family a little bit, and you get my views on the new Joker cover. I can promise that the next time I post one of these, it'll be more well-researched, and I'm probably going to spend the majority of time talking about fibromyalgia, and it's going to be a scripted little bit, and I'm going to keep these to about 15 to 20 minutes, including intro and outro. I hope everybody enjoys them. They're just going to be little supplemental podcast bits once a week, hopefully. And instead of, because we can only do the Brainstorm podcast every now and then, about once a month at this point. So this is for everybody, just kind of to tide you over. If you want to support this show, all you got to do is support the other show. Go to patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. Go to cafepress.ca/brainstormpodcastgear. Go to facebook.com/brainstorm. Yeah, that might be Brainstorm Podcast. Yeah, that's facebook.com/brainstorm podcast to keep up with everything. I'm not going to bother creating a separate page for this unless I get a lot of feedback that says that this is something that people really like. Other than that, it's just going to stay a supplemental little. This is part under the heading of the Brainstorm podcast, but this is the Hardcore Skeptic mini-sodes. Sure, I like that. All right, thanks for listening, and everybody have a good one.